I was bored yesterday, and so I mean I wasn't bored, but I was I'm never bored. I guess I needed to be bored and find something to do for a little bit of time yesterday, so I decided to watch Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh man, what a great movie! I haven't seen that in probably a couple of years now. I caught it on TV at some point, not too long ago, but it's still been a while.
I had forgotten the whole ending of that movie.
What movie now?
Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh, that movie's great.
That's what I said.
I had forgotten the dolphin thing.
Dude.
I'd remembered he has to hack his own brain.
You gotta loop it through Jones.
I forgot about the loop it through Jones part.
You gotta listen to Ice-T, man.
I know. I don't know how I forgot little pieces of it that were so big, but it did. I don't know. It's been forever since I've seen the movie, so
It's
something special.
It is both forgettable, and we shall never see its like again.
That's true. This says 5/11/2016. JJ.
Hello.
Hello. Michael, hello.
How you doing?
Michael, you weren't with us on 5/11/2016.
I was not.
But that was the day this file says it was created. File episode number 1. That's a long time.
It's a long time ago, man.
Yeah, it is.
That's thousands of listeners ago.
Yeah, man. 6 years.
Welcome to episode 300, guys.
Good to be here.
Whew.
Big round number.
I guess, what's a 6-year anniversary, really? I mean, we should have done something last year on 5 whatever. But, who cares?
Everything was Wave's hand.
2020 to 2022 has been kind of crazy. So let's take a celebration on episode 300 instead, because it's round. It's got a 3, which is part of my favorite number. What's your guys' favorite number?
3.
Oh, really? Dang.
Yes.
It's a good number.
But okay, well, I'll go next then, because mine's 33.
Big fan of Max Verstappen in Formula One. Is that the thing?
Oh, is that it? Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Although, actually, I think he changed his number to 1 this year because he was first place last year.
Oh, I like 33.
Spoilers for Formula One last year, I guess.
Shoot. Oh, dang it. We got to start over.
Dang. Oh, no. Anyway, but I guess
Cancel.
he was 33 for years before that.
I like 33 because if you add it together, it's 6. And if you turn 6 over, it's 9, which is 3 times 3.
Dang.
Okay.
Arbitrary thing is cool.
It also looks good on a jersey. JJ, you didn't answer. We're gonna have to stop the podcast until you have a favorite number.
I didn't, because I don't really, so I can say either 420 or 69.
No.
E. Your favorite number is E, JJ.
Did I not see that coming?
Sure. Or I could do tau, which is 2 pi.
There
right?
you go.
2 pi is a good. I like that. You're sticking with it from now on when people ask you your favorite number.
I guess my favorite number is tau. Cool.
Yeah, there you go. Done. Because then some people will shake their heads, some people will nod, and some people will smile broadly, and you'll know who to talk to at that point.
I mean, even if you said pi, people would be like, "Oh, ha, ha, math joke." But E is way worse of a math joke because it's it's way less known than pi is, but arguably more useful. So
I'm not going to get into that one because that's beyond my scope.
English major, right?
Yeah, I like numbers, but I don't like numbers in that way. I would laugh if you said tau. All right.
We'll decide that's what I said.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get going on our idea for episode 300, I want to shout out the incomparable Brandon Sheffield from Insert Credit, and also Necrosoft, I think is his company. that makes games. I say incomparable. I don't know him, I guess. So I assume he's incomparable. He's done something incomparable. If you go to itch.io, there is a bundle. We tweeted about it and linked it on there for, I think it's $10 donation. It's just like previous donation bundles they've done on itch.io for charity causes as well. Take a look at that. That's to help the humanitarian problems that are going to be coming hard and fast from this issue in Ukraine, which none of us personally probably can solve today, but we can at least try to help the people that are going to be suffering. So check that out. I don't know how long it goes for.
Yeah.
Another 10 days. So 10 days. 7 days from when this airs.
So yeah, you got a week to go do it, but you should do it the minute that we mentioned it right here. Just pause and come back. Maybe I'll link it on the YouTube also. I guess that'll be a dead link in a little while, but whatever. It's worth it, I think.
Yeah, it's totally good. And there are lots of ways to support the humanitarian issues going on in Ukraine right now. So
if you've got extra,
donate to the Red Cross of Ukraine or a lot of other great charities out there doing real good work.
Some people have been booking Airbnbs, I noticed. In Kyiv to try and flow money to people that probably desperately need it. I'm not sure how that works. I know Airbnb said they were waiving fees for that sort of thing, but I don't know how you know who you're giving to. So maybe if you're like me and you want to just make sure that you're trying to do as much as you can, just find an organization like Doctors Without Borders or Red Cross, or I think which is some of the ones that this Itch bundle donates to, and make sure they're going to need a lot of food and water and stuff like that. So we'll just start there.
The Airbnb one is not theoretically a bad idea. The problem is that often property is owned by people who don't actually live near or at the property, and therefore, who are you actually helping? You don't know, and that's weird.
You might help somebody that desperately needs it.
And totally you could, right? Yeah. Totally. But you don't know. You could also be helping someone in the United States or China who just happens to own those buildings, and you have no way of knowing. So, but there are lots of great charities out there that do, good work.
Yeah. Okay. Our pod has gone on for 300 episodes.
The impossible transition.
I can't. There's no way to do it.
Hard cut.
I know. There's nothing you can do, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sheffield is a podcaster also, so, it's all connected. That's how I know about it, right? And so, since we have the same platform, we might as well try to use it for a few people to donate, There, boom, podcast connected. Now we've transitioned. 300 episodes and 6 years means that at this point, this podcast has become basically as effective in your life as having had a child. Just the amount of time and things we have done for this podcast, that we put into this podcast, that we've enjoyed doing for this podcast. Michael and I played Portal just because of wanting to do it for this, right? And we might have played Portal before, but there was some times when we honestly forgot to finish it, and then we were like, oh wait, we have to finish it. We've recorded at events because why not? We were there. We've played games together. We've watched terrible and great movies on dares and whims.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our families have changed their schedules around so we can accommodate each other.
And we very much appreciate that.
It's true. JJ and I have gotten deeply back into Star Trek, which I may not have done without this podcast.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't have watched as much as I have, that's for sure.
Deeply. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was joking that it's like having a kid because it's not. But at the same time, I think in 6 years, we may have had some experiences here or made some life changes or just plain played a game that we would never have tried before because of each other on this podcast. And sometimes because of emails, listeners. I know we looked into, like I was goaded by multiple people into buying that Elite controller. And I did it, and I love it.
There you go.
You know what I mean? That's a recent example. This podcast got us way too deep into Hearthstone for a very long time.
It's true. There was like almost a daily topic of Hearthstone for some of those years. Yeah. Or I guess weekly.
So now that we've gone down that rabbit hole, I think we've all hoped to share today a few things that if you decided, hey, 300, okay, these guys must have been around a while. I'm going to listen to a podcast that has been around 300 episodes, but I don't know where to start. Start here, and we'll just start here. Start now. Start with us and go forward as we look back a little bit. It's not a clip show. I'm sure 5 people were getting ready to hit the pause button and fast forward to the end because they thought it was going to be some sort of clip show. I don't have time to do a clip show.
I was just going to say, it's actually easier for us to record new voices and talking than it is to put together a clip.
Always look forward.
I would pay a small amount of money. But an amount of money for someone to go through and make a clip show for me, but I don't think I would. I mean, sure. If we did
that's how YouTube videos for big people get made, right? They pay people.
Look. If we did some sort of thing like a Patreon and people wanted us to do a clip show as the bonus, I would do that. But no.
Yeah.
What did you, who came up with this prompt? One of you come up with this prompt.
JJ did.
I think it was
JJ came up. JJ came up with the first half of it, and then I
Michael
did the other side of the coin.
JJ hit the triple, and Michael Texas leaguered him in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a baseball reference because they're on lockout, so that's the only baseball you're going to get this season.
Yeah, they're on strike.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny to say that a baseball player is on strike. Which strike?
3 strikes and he's out. I mean, I wish the owners would get out. That's what I wish.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
I'm not talking about baseball anymore. All right. Stop. It's too easy. So when I came up with the prompt, I was just trying to think of ways we could think of fun things. And so for better or worse, as Andrew mentioned, probably all of the events we're going to come up with here and talk about have been discussed on these pods at some point. It's a lot. 300 is a lot. And there has to have been discussion of probably anything we would bring up at this point if it was memorable enough for us to remember, right?
Yes.
So I will go first here in my, since I came up with it, right? I should go first. And I'll go with something that we did because of this pod. And I know it was top of mind for a number of people here as we ate that damn chip.
Oh, no.
Why did we do that? We thought it would be cool podcast content to talk about eating that thing. Biggest mistakes
were made.
Biggest mistake. To this day, I still remember the awful texture and flavor and the searing pain in my body.
Dear listeners, if you take away one thing to not do, because we've done it on this podcast, let it be that.
Never, ever do the one chip challenge. There is no world in which it is worth it.
Any amount of heckling or being made fun of by people or friends or strangers, no peer pressure could convince me to ever do it again. And you should feel likewise.
I really wish we had had better camera work being done at that point in time, because I'll never go back to get better camera work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's ever going to get
the
done
aftermath
again.
was just all of us immediately running. I mean, like, even if they were, if we had been filming, the aftermath would have just been all of us running into the refrigerator and like tearing it open for literally any like fatty liquid, milk, ranch, oat milk, ice cream. I don't remember what we had. We just we ravenously looked through. We were like getting ready to start like drinking ranch out of a bottle, I think.
I believe that may have happened that there was some sort of cream that people just started drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we
chugging
emptied
water
at least
left and right.
2 bottles of actual, like a bottle of milk and a bottle of almond milk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a terrible thing.
But the rest of that day was great.
And
Oh,
it was.
wonderful.
And that was the backdrop was we had such a good time doing the wing stuff and making our own wings and tasting each other's, and all of that was so great. And even the like crazy spicy ones that we made weren't that bad, really, right?
No.
Compared
No,
to
the
that
last dab
shit,
one
bro.
isn't that bad. I mean, it's hot, but
It's
it's
very
hot.
hot.
But it's flavorful, so you
Yeah.
at least enjoy part of the experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, wings and last dabs, and I think
And that's totally stuff we never would have gotten into if it wasn't for this.
Yeah, probably. I think though that like that means we should also do more of that.
You're not going to find me arguing. I think that was a great time. I'd love to do
Food
it again.
days, yeah.
Or something like it. Yeah.
And maybe the next time we do it, we should do some sort of like listener submitted wings or something like that. That we have to
You
eat.
can do that.
There's a limit on what gets made, I guess. I guess we don't have to accept any of them. Just, the best ones.
Guess it doesn't have to be wings either.
That's true. Some sort of food get together challenge-y thing.
Yeah.
This is a bad idea.
We say that this sounds like a great idea now. And then 6 years later, we're doing another show. It's like, remember that time we made those wings that viewer submitted? Oh, God, it was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. Michael,
Yeah.
you got to line up the bunt to home here of what the finisher for that prompt was, so that JJ can
Right,
finish off
so-
his section.
Yeah. So I suggested that we, much like the Packy Chip Challenge, we come up with one thing that we did not do because of something we discussed on the podcast.
So this was way harder for me to come up with. But I think the things that and this is like more of a general than a specific, but I frequently did not share how I felt about something with you guys because I wanted to save it for the pod.
Oh,
Super frequently,
Yeah.
I would like see something or have a take on a game or have like this crazy event happen to me. And then I'd be like, nope, not going to send it to the group thread. Going to wait. And then we talk about it on the pod the next week.
You know what's interesting about that is I have done the same thing, and I noticed that it wasn't, oh God, because it'll be good content was my first idea.
Right.
It was because I wanted to talk about it for a while. Like, oh man, I really want to talk about this thing with the guys. And it wasn't like I should just start texting them now, because 25 minutes later we'll still be texting about it. And that's got its own place and time and whatever. And we often do that when like Gamers Nexus comes out with a video or whatever. And it's like, we can chat about specifics of an item, or like
Or
Michael
a
got
cool new Lego thing gets revealed.
cool new Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're not gonna all of our opinions is roughly the same of like, oh, that's cool. If I really seriously want to have a discussion with someone, and maybe this is part of the podcast in general realization, is that if you're missing out on connecting to people after the last couple of years, call them on the phone.
Yeah, totally.
Don't text them, because when we get to the podcast, it's not that like I am personally thinking about like, oh, I don't want to tell them because it's going to be content. It's no, I don't want to tell them because I want to hear their reaction to it. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. And sometimes like I developed an opinion about something. Maybe this fits into your thing here, JJ. Did you ever develop an opinion about something and like, oh, I really feel one way about this event or this item, and I'm going to kind of keep it to myself to see what JJ and Michael think, because I'm not sure if I'm right.
I am always out there with my opinions,
That's
but
true.
I definitely think that I've certainly done that for stuff that like I knew all of us were going to watch, right? Like,
Mhm.
The Mandalorian, or what was the shoot, the
Invincible.
Yeah, Invincible, or some of the other stuff we know all of us were going to watch eventually. And like, I would just wait to talk about it until I could talk about it with you guys, even though I had takes maybe or opinions about various episodes or whatever. But it's definitely, it would be worth waiting for like a lot of those reasons you just mentioned, Andrew, that it's not that I was like, oh, I got to save it for content, right? That was never really the reason I would wait. It was, I wanted to have a discussion about it. And usually you're not going to get a like deep discussion out of sending things to a group thread or a text message, right? Yeah. Not that you wouldn't get no discussion, but you might not get the full, deep and interesting discussion that you do have in a conversation like this.
A person's interest in inflection does not come through, right? Like if something crazy happened to you, you could say this was crazy, and then people would be like, oh, that was crazy. But in my head, I'm not hearing like, was it crazy in like he's really excited that it happened? Was it crazy in like he's
got to use more people need to use more emojis, man. The emojis help, or exclamation points and question marks and stuff like that. Those help convey that tone. Stuff.
Yeah. I'm unfortunate. I'm gonna let you in on a secret, man. The Zoomers don't use the emojis.
Well, they're screwing it up. How am I supposed to know how they feel about anything if they're not putting like fire symbols or?
You are outing yourself as an old.
I've been an old the whole time. No one's surprised. I'm older than both of you. Old man shakes fist at sky here. Like, yeah, I'm the boomer of this podcast. So yeah, of course.
You are the most opinionated.
That does qualify me as boomerish.
Oh man, I'll go next.
Okay.
Mainly because when you give me a prompt like this, you've invited me to be esoteric.
I love it.
And so I think of things like the chip challenge or sticking with games that like I wouldn't play otherwise or whatever, you know, like that kind of exact concrete one-off examples I can think of. But really, there's things that I have done in my life for the podcast that I'd rather talk about, which are more abstract concepts. And so like one idea that came across my plate when I was thinking about games or audio work or video work or even computer building is like for this podcast, for doing this podcast, A, to make it happen, and B, because I wanted to do stuff better because we were talking so much and I wanted to know what I was talking about. And I've expanded personal like base skills quite a bit just for the heck of doing it. And it's like almost like if someone said, I just want something to do at night before bed, so I'm going to learn a new language or something like that, you know? And so like, hey, JJ had this idea to put stuff on YouTube, and like when putting stuff on YouTube, maybe we should make it more visually interesting. And like running with that idea and going back into DaVinci and learning all these things that I learned in like 2008 and then hadn't used since like 2012, and re-expanding those skills and concepts, and you know, learning new ones and all that sort of stuff has been really cool. Like doing that in games, I don't know that I would have stuck with that Jedi Fallen Order game without this podcast because of the skills required to pick it up. Didn't really interest me as much at the time, right? Before we did this type of podcast, like a game where you have to sit back and develop skills, not like a Portal, you know, or even like computer building. I know, and you guys don't lie. Like the first 3 computers I built, when I think about them now, considering the computer that I built in front of me here, I cringe thinking about the parts that I slapped together and the like wasted money in those computers.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, when the first computer, was I there for the first computer you built, or had you built them before then?
Which one were you there when I built?
We were at your old house in Irvine, or Orange, sorry.
Was it the one in the small case, the desktop case, the ITX one that we built?
Maybe.
I know you were there when we built the ITX one. That was at least the second, maybe a third computer that I had built.
Okay, so you definitely built some before that.
Yeah, I mean, I had built this thing I called the Death Star, which was this giant full ATX black case, which had like a GTX 870 in it or something like that.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, that
and
would've
it
been
used
before.
like I had no idea what to buy, right? Like 1,000-watt power supply or something insane like that. It was in there with like,
And like this was so many years ago that there was no way you were using it, right? Yeah.
oh no, and I'm sure I had bought a K processor and then not got the right motherboard for that processor, you know.
Oh yeah, I totally did that too. Like
You know,
in my
that type of
college
stuff.
days or whatever.
Where maybe I learned a lot of that as I went on and built stuff like that ITX challenge of trying to get a computer into a 350-watt power supply that fit on a desktop with a 1070 in it, right? Like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that alone taught me a lot. But going through component class on this podcast and really learning about parts just because we were here talking about it and wanting to build computers together. Like, I'm not sure that I would have a fancy, cool, really well built and designed computer on this desk without this podcast, you know? And that skill of going through and learning all that stuff, computer building or editing, or just even with playing games and working on working on myself and games. And I could talk more about that in the I didn't do section. Has definitely been part of this for me. See, I told you it was gonna be esoteric.
No, but that was good because it's very much a, like, I love that that's the reason, because like that's the reason you like got into building and like are, you know, or feel you got more into it than you were, right? Because that's like how I got into building computers with my friends, and you know, in college and like late high school, it was just like we were just talking about computers and stuff, and then I wanted a new computer, and so we just made one, and like my friends and I would talk about it, like, here's what you should do, man, this or the other thing, and like that's literally those conversations we had on this podcast. And you know, I sum off, but like that is what it is, and that's like a cool feeling to be able to share with people. And you know, I hope people out there listening also, you know, enjoyed learning about this stuff, because it's cool.
It's a cool sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Getting a computer to boot, I don't know if there's much.
Dude, until recently, I think until my last two maybe only the most recent one, maybe my last two, it never booted the first time. That first time I got it to boot the first time, I was like, I am the god of computers. I have done all of it right the first time. No problems.
What's been fascinating is as we learned more about computers, the more complicated building them became, right? Like initially it was like, what are the parts I need? How did they fit together? Right. Mm-hmm. And this time around, I mean, Michael was there. Unfortunately, it was only Michael. When I tried to fit this thing together, and like, you know, I had gotten things down to like millimeter measurements, you know, trying to build a different type of PC than just like, well, what's the smallest one I could build? What's the cheapest one I could build? What's this I could build? Like getting through what each motherboard has and what it can do, and the exact millimeter size of radiator you can squash into something, and the min-maxing of what you would do in an RPG game, but in a computer case. What is the most you can squeeze out of it? Just has really gotten very fun, and almost to the point of like, this is really fun now. You know, like
Yep.
what? How do I stop? Well, you know, I stop right now because this board is topped out, thankfully, mostly, unless they build that. Did you hear about these 3D things they're gonna do to the Ryzen 9s?
Yeah, so supposedly that's the new hot tech. They're gonna like stack the memory vertically on top of the other memory and still make it connect somehow.
Yeah,
Which has always been the issue.
yeah.
I don't know how that's supposed to work, but
I don't know.
You
But
know.
they said 64 or 32 gigabyte or 32 megabyte caches end up being like 128 megabyte caches or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
So
it's interesting.
it's not a crazy in performance increase. It's like 12 to 15% versus the old X models, which is like another 12 or 15% above the base models. So they're just keeping the chips alive a little bit longer. But heck, if they make that for a 5950, it's like 5950X 3D or something. I guess I could just pop that in here. Why not? And then I get to...
If the socket's the same, right? If they don't move to AM5 or whatever.
I think that's the point, is to keep the Zen 3s into the same socket.
Okay, got it. So delay the onset of the new sockets for people who don't want to have to upgrade.
Yeah. Right, yeah. I mean, hey, if people can get 10, 15% more out of their socket for another 2 years, AMD makes a little bit more money maybe if they only do it for 1 or 2 processors.
Yeah, especially if, in 4 years or whatever, your PC is feeling sluggish, you can grab a old, at that point, 3D whatever, and get 10% more for another couple years while you are saving to find your $8 million GPU. There's some pictures coming out of decent-sized restocks at Micro Centers. Yeah, so, I think processors are not unfindable anymore.
The GPUs, too.
Yeah,
GPUs
I saw something
might actually be findable.
That the GPU shortage is starting to get better, like noticeably better.
We bought at exactly the wrong time, guys.
I think it is the highest end stuff that is still hard to find, but yeah, the good mid range stuff is available now, which is nice. Yeah. Like the 3060s and maybe the 70s. I don't know.
Should we say what I didn't do because of this podcast?
Hit us.
Go for it.
Well, it's something I did do because of this podcast.
I tricked you.
I tricked you.
I fell for it again.
No, it's I have a very bad personality trait, which has come out in games and has also come out in life. And I know that it's something that a lot of people share. And I don't think it's inherently bad because a lot of people that have it have a very focused version of this. And what I'm talking about is like completionism and collectoritis, I would say. Sure. A lot of people with OCD, light OCD, end up, because there's very heavy OCD, and I don't want to imply that I have a medical condition that requires medication that a lot of people do have. But I personally have a very deep need when I try to get something or do something to complete it or collect it in a way that makes it feel complete. It started with comic books, and unfortunately Magic and other games like that, which as kids they really pushed on us. I don't know if you grew up the same way I did, where it's like, oh man, if you could just get a whole set of this, or if you could just collect all these, or Pokemon played on that for everybody. Gotta catch them all, and that hit right when we were young. And that is, Pokemon is like the epitome of my problem. I definitely have collected them all multiple times in those initial games. It's bad. And a lot of people that don't see my office because we don't record visually wouldn't know this. But if you seek out some video versions of podcasts I've been on, you could see in the background a large mess in the back. And that is myself untangling myself from this habit, because on this podcast, on Carbon Scoring, we went through a decent amount of time talking about toys. And if you guys have listened to it, you probably would know. The other guys on there also collect toys, but they also have very specified interests when it comes to the toys. I got back into collecting Star Wars toys because of their interest in Star Wars toys. And you know what I did? I just started literally buying everything that was related to The Mandalorian. I bought in multiple sizes and everything because I thought that was my way in and I was going to get it all. And they play exactly on that need, right? To get it all, get it all, get it all.
Always something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, because of that same group of people on that podcast, and because of you guys in video games, where I have talked to you multiple times about like, well, I need to 100% this. I need 100% this. And you guys are just like, no, you don't need to. Just play the game. And then don't 100% it, right? And a lot of people get joy out of 100%ing stuff, but on this pod I've gotten to play a lot more games than before because you guys are playing games and I want to talk to you about new games that I played and had interest in. And so I don't have time to 100% it with a life and everything else going on. That plus those guys over there, I don't know what the right word is because it's not exactly exploitative to buy toys. You're making the decision to do it. But how disregarding that market is of your personal emotions and finances really got played to me very well. And so thanks to this, I've really broken that collector's habit quite a bit. Very, very quite a bit. In so much as my office is a mess because most of that collection has been sold off. Collect time because there's not any more of it being made for you.
It's a like really insightful and important thing to say because I know like a lot of the culture around a lot of the spheres that we sort of revolve around in, you know, geek related, you know, nerd related toys and comics and games and, you know, a lot of those spheres have this like, I don't want to say obsessive, but like a very consumer oriented mentality that like get the new thing, get the best thing, get the fastest, get the best, get like always pull for more and more and more. And it's important to recognize just when you are good and be able to say like, hey, you know what? I am good. I have done what I have wanted to do here. I'm satisfied and I don't need to buy the new thing, or I can see it and be cool that it exists and happy that it's there for people that want it. And it doesn't have to be me.
A lot of our Lego discussion revolves around like, oh man, that's a really cool Lego set. And I love Lego. I mean, we have a bunch of it here to do with our kids. We have some of it that is not for our kids, of the larger ones, but like for a long time I thought, oh, I'll just collect every UCS Star Wars shit. Wait a minute. Every UCS Star Wars ship is a lot of those things and they're very expensive. What are you doing? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it hit home for me earlier today when I had already written down what I said I had stopped doing because of this podcast, which is creating a massive mess of collection, which I think a lot of people are going to see me as saying you shouldn't own things. And I don't think that's true. I think a lot of things make a lot of people very happy. But it's important to do it healthfully and in a focused way, right? Like I'm still going to keep collectibles around. I have some, but like pick ones, even if they're expensive, that really mean something to you, and understand that when you get into a position like I was in, where like I had so much that it didn't fit in this office, this house, or even, you know, was starting to not fit in the garage. Even if you make the decision to stop, then you're looking at getting rid of all of it. And like I said a minute ago, you know, your time. We started this podcast 6 years ago is the revelation. You know, the experiences and opinions and all the things that have happened and changed even. JJ said he didn't like open world games and would never play them 3 years ago. He's playing an open world game right now made by FromSoft.
I am the fool here.
You're the exception that proves the rule. Those are time related things. Doing this podcast is a time related thing, and something that, you know, happens when you have all these collections. You have to spend time getting rid of them. Time you could spend hanging out with your friends. Time you could be using to collect experiences instead of collecting things. Collect time.
I think that goes well too with one of the things that we try to do with this podcast, which is being mindful of the limited time that people have, like us, as we all get older, to try and distill down the things that we have enjoyed that we think are actually worth spending some of your time on.
Yeah. Don't watch Tiger King.
Never did finish that. Super happy I never did.
Don't do a one chip challenge. The time spent recovering from the one chip challenge,
dude,
You could have been eating more wings. Eat wings.
Yes.
You know, like
The mental scars are still there.
oh gosh. You know, you're right, Michael.
My wife
You're
and I
really
still
right.
talk about it.
You're right, Michael. Distilling down to the essence of what we were gamers meant, right? It could mean a lot of things. It doesn't have to mean gamers, right? I was a collector. I would not consider myself a collector after 6 years of this podcast, especially in the last 2. Really, really have. It's been very fun to talk about toys with the guys on Carbon Scoring. But I look at the new Star Trek toys that are coming out for Prodigy. I like them a lot, but unless my kids want them, I'll probably leave them on a store shelf. Sorry, we're done.
It was good.
We're done.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. So that leaves me then, and I will do. I'll in typical fashion. My examples will be a little more grounded.
That's why I went in the middle.
Yeah. So for the first one, for the thing I did because of the podcast, I couldn't decide between 2. One is a game and one is not, or I guess a franchise. So I'll start with the game, which is the Trails series.
Doing a little dance over here.
Yeah. Just getting into those games has been such a fun experience because of the detailed attention to world building that goes into making every one of them.
Nothing like it in video games, man.
It's completely unique. You can be playing a game 6 games down the line and there will be a moment of, oh, hey, remember this thing from the first game? Here's where it ties into the story.
Wow.
I have so many spoilerish things to talk about from Trails of Cold Steel 4, and I can't.
I enjoyed butchering the titles of all those very much.
I knew he was going to say that.
I also enjoyed how much you guys enjoyed talking about them. I don't know when or if I'll be able to get into that series. I have such a long list. This is part of the thing of like being in a group of people and like talking to people on the phone that you would never get from a group chat. You know, I mean, you would get it a little bit, but like
the general excitement.
Yeah, general excitement and like, oh man, this or that, or could you believe this or that? And it's organic when you hear people talking, and it's fine. But like in a thread, if you've got 5, 10, 15 people in it, it's just noise at a certain point.
So that was the one game related. The non-game related one was getting in the robot.
Shinji.
Yeah. So and this one is, I think, emblematic of something that I knew was kind of foundational for its genre and was always sort of going to be on a back burner list. But it took the podcast and the decision, hey, let's watch through all of these and then watch all the movies to actually make me sit down and do it.
Michael's talking about Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yes.
We watched the show, and then we watched the movie, and then we watched the Rebuild movies.
I would have watched the show on my own, and I'm not certain that I had finished it before the podcast, but I had tried to watch it before. I'm certain that without the podcast, it would have slipped by me, those Rebuild films. And JJ connecting how everything out, was connected initially to get us into the world of it, and then, deep diving into who's connected to what, to how, and, outside and inside the movies, and
putting the red string on that board there for us.
You really Charlied that one. Yeah. That's a good one, Michael, because it's an emblematic example as well of just taking dips into, fantasy football on this podcast was on here for so long.
Yeah, man.
Because we were all into it together.
I never would have gone back to that series and rewatched the TV show, even though I knew I had wanted to watch the Rebuild movies, but I'd sort of been waiting for them to actually be done. I never would have gone back to that TV show because when I watched it as a kid, I just remember having, or maybe as a teenager, I really just remember not having a good time.
You wouldn't, though.
And-
That's the
and that's the
unfortunate
point,
thing.
right? Being older now, I can respect and understand why it made me feel like I wasn't having a good time. It's like that was intentional.
It's strange to think that in that era they had made anime that wasn't for kids, when really the only thing keeping anime afloat was stuff like Dragon Ball.
And I think the sort of like the non-kid nature of it was cool and interesting in like the early 2000s, right? It's like,
And Westerners sure did not get that it was not for kids.
yeah, obviously, right? It's like, this is like adult anime, cool, but not like porn, which also there was, I'm sure.
And then I guess for the other side of the coin, you guys will probably both get a kick out of this because I let you take those bullets for me. The one thing that I did not do because of the podcast is the DCU.
Yes.
Which
I decided I don't need to.
which one of our coffins was the final nail?
I think it was just, it was the snow drifting of one thing after another.
Yes, we are both buried in the avalanche that was the DC.
It's funny because like I did that to myself. I wanted to see that dumb Snyder cut, and I watched it, and then I was like, well, but if I was going to watch this, I should just watch that other thing. And then why did I do that? I didn't need to see that movie again. It wasn't good still. It made more sense, but it didn't make it good.
Yeah,
And it's just
I think that who's more the fool or the fool who follows him, JJ?
Do you want me to answer that question truthfully? Because it doesn't come off looking good for you, maybe.
I cannot believe that your malaise reviews read the
Yeah,
DCU.
like I didn't give it good reviews, right? I said it was kind of like, hey, this was better than the original, which the original was quite bad. So like it was almost to meh.
enough people liked the Wonder Woman that I watched the Wonder Woman, and it was kind of like, okay, I get why people like this. It's
Wonder Woman was good.
it's
first
mostly good. The first one. There are things that I can't get behind, but they're aesthetic and they're ingrained in the universe that is that, and they can't be undone no matter what movie they're in. There's so much I can't. I don't want to go back. It's like I'm having flashbacks. There was a part of me that's just like, it can't be. There has to be something redeeming in these films. And while there may have been small moments that were redeeming, boy, Michael, if you can just force yourself to stay away, you'll be a better human being. Like
or
I
certainly
said,
you will have lost nothing, and that's the important thing,
But-
right? We were just talking about your time being
your
important.
time, yeah,
Yeah.
and we took the bullet, right? This was one of those moments where it was like, most of the time our suggestions are like, yeah, you should probably put time into Loop Hero, or you should definitely put time into Inscription.
Yes.
And we talk about it for a while and spoil it for people that don't have the time to play it, so they can hear how much joy it was. Like stuff like that is the usual. And then there's the DCU. And Michael, thank you for taking the We Were Gamers advice on that one. Now I feel better.
Someone learned from your mistakes.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us for the final episode of We Were Gamers. It's been a fun
Don't
ride.
tell the people that.
No.
Oh, I should say that I was joking very clearly, right? That was not the final episode. It was, however, the 300th episode, and we're changing nothing. So there you go.
The surprise!
Yeah. If it ain't
Insane.
broke, although it frequently breaks.
Oh man,
The podcast itself doesn't break. It's the things around it
see
break.
episode 299, 298, 297.
Starts counting down.
It's just every time, man. Even today, although today was my fault, I had changed a setting because what is the root of all my problems these days?
You fooling around with stuff because of Warzone?
Bing.
Meddling in forces you don't understand.
Well, Warzone has decided that it's just going to cut off my ability to voice chat once in a while. And so I was messing with settings and then I forgot to reset them. So that one's on me, but at least it didn't delay us this time like Michael's Morgan Freeman from last time.
Michael's issue last time provided endless amounts of joy, so it was worth it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's amazing. I mean, I'm glad that it happens on other podcasts, but it's still like, this should be solved by now. It really should. Oh boy. Well, 300 tomorrow is 301, and that's a metaphorical tomorrow, not exactly tomorrow. Because I think the next thing that's out is probably either carbon scoring or, geez, I don't know. Maybe it won't be. Maybe the next one will be a normal pod. But sometime this month, there'll be another carbon scoring, which we keep doing. There'll be another subspace transmission. This month will be, the last 2 times have been Prodigy, JJ.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you.
This time, are we going to get some proper Star Trek here?
Those are fighting
Spicy
words, because that means you haven't listened to the most recent Prodigy episode.
Live action Star Trek?
There we go. That's quality. Because I would say even Lower Decks is proper Star Trek, my man.
Actually, and I would fully agree with you there. Should I say prestige TV Star Trek?
Yes, you can say that. That will count.
There's also not only is there a Discovery season we haven't, neither of us have really watched, but the Picard
has started as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think we start with Discovery because it's almost over, and we might be almost over with it.
Yeah, we'll certainly watch as much of that as we feel we can take. And then maybe we watch one episode of Picard if we only get through one episode of Discovery. I don't know. We'll see how far we go.
I want to let people know right now, we're going to be very clear of the faults that we see, the DCU issues that we are finding with that show. Yeah. And none of them are related to representation. I would like to make that very clear up front, because I think a lot of internet hate is foisted upon that show over the fact that many of the actors and actresses are representative. And I think we have very clear other issues with that series.
Like the people who write the scripts. Specifically.
Yeah. All the issues begin and end on paper.
Yeah. You could put literally any person on the screen. If you changed the things that the actors were reading, maybe it would be better.
Yeah. So we'll get into that. Carbon scoring is going to be weird this month because it's not going to be about Star Wars at all. It's going to be about karate.
Cobra Kai coming back?
It's already been back, my man.
I was going to say, hasn't there been a second and third season of that show?
Yeah,
or did you guys already do season 2?
We did season 3. We did season 2 a while ago. Season 3 finished a couple weeks ago. More than, might even be months now. We recorded that, so we got a lot in the can. There's always stuff to listen to on this show, is what I'm saying. Even if it's not 301, which it will be, because I think that's the way the calendar works.
Teaser out there for cool stuff upcoming.
Yeah, I mean, we got a movie to talk about next week. We've got a game that I still have had on the back burner. I know, JJ, you've got Elden Ring to go off on.
I've died so many times.
I was going to ask it more or less than 500 ballpark.
Probably less still, but it doesn't mean like,
Does it feel like 500?
Sometimes.
I was going to say, is it starting to feel a little like Celeste in that way?
No, because the restart times are way longer.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Michael and I will have... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I heard that there's a hilarious option in that game somewhere that you can turn off you can make the game load faster after a death. It will load so quick you can't see the tooltips on the loading screen. Like they intentionally load a little bit slower so you can read some of the tooltips.
Sure, yeah.
You could turn that off so it just loads so quick that you can't see anything.
I mean, at a certain point, you will have seen them all, right? So how much value is there in
Yeah,
I thought
don't
it was
need to know
funny
how
that
to
they
pair.
added. Why did they add that as an option? Make the decision it's cool or not cool, and then don't worry about it. But no, they're like, yeah, we'll give you the option to read the tooltips when you die or not. Yeah, sure.
I
It's a
get it.
weird choice.
If it's a thing that can be programmed easily, I get it, because there's going to be a lot of people that spend hundreds of hours with this game that'll eventually be like, why are the load times so long?
Yeah, so like, why make the tooltips in the first place, right? You could just have it. If you can already have it load so fast they don't show up, what did you have them for in the first place, right?
What about all the casuals out there that are like, what do you mean I can double tap that to do this thing?
Yeah, look, look, man, I'm not. I just thought it was funny. That was my only.
It's just one of those interesting moments in games where they have to walk both lines. Because
Totally.
there's two audiences they have to serve. I
saw
is
that.
what you've discovered.
Totally. I saw that Elden Ring hit the 6th most played game on Steam all time
Whoa!
this past
I
week.
could believe that.
Wow!
Hit like over 800,000 concurrent players at one point.
Wow! Michael, we'll have some Law and Order to talk about next week too. I think
We
there'll have
will.
been at least 2 episodes more,
Yes.
and we can give a judgment on that as well. Judgment.
I heard things about this most recent episode.
Is it still not on your soundboard?
Oh, dude, dang it. I knew I was forgetting something. I'll get it. It'll be on there. I promise. I'm downloading it now. JJ, do the thing.
All right. Well, folks, if you want to talk to us about cool sounds that Andrew should add to his soundboard, send us your cool.
No, let's stop.
Send us your
stop it.
Send us your memories of things we've talked about on this podcast, or other cool ideas for things to add in our 301st and beyond episodes. You can send those to podcast@wewergamers.com. That's our email address. We read those and talk about them on here every so often.
Yeah, sometimes in general and sometimes in specific. You know, if I get a bunch of emails, which has happened, where like 5 or 6 will come straight in about like screen tearing. It's like, okay, yeah, thanks for all those. I tried all that. I want to also say very clearly right here, right now, do not send sound files. I won't open them.
Oh yeah, look, I'm telling you, send him places to get the best ones. Don't send the actual MP3s. That's a bad idea.
Just type out your idea and I will find the place to get the best one.
Yeah. And you can also find this podcast on your favorite podcasting app. And you can rate us and review us on there. That'd be really great. Follow us on YouTube. We Were Gamers, all one word. You can find that on there real easy. We're on social media too. Search for We Were Gamers on there. Whoopsie doodle.
And I'm going to send you guys this picture now. I saw this during the recording, and it was all I could do not to laugh out loud at it.
Where are we sending it?
In the Facebook chat.
Oh, this is from that poster.
I'm not familiar with the poster.
Oh, I think this is I think this is an XKCD poster that he sold.
Is it from his like How Things Work or What If books?
Oh, yeah.
I think it is.
That makes sense.
I think it's from the Upper Goer 5. Yeah. Look up Upper Goer 5, which is it's a breakdown of the Saturn V rocket that he made, and he made it into a poster for his book about the what ifs or whatever. It's really good. He's got like breathing type air for burning, cold and wet.
Yeah, it is from that.
Yeah. The Upper Goer 5 is one of the best ones he's ever done. I wish it weren't extremely long and in one weird shape so I could use it as a desktop or something.
Yeah, you could segment it out and make it into like a triptych.
Yeah.